It started with a simple request. I think I pulled something again. I groaned, face down on the couch, one arm dangling off the side, the other gripping my lower back. The rain tapped lightly against the apartment window, casting streaks of water down the glass like the city itself was crying. My body felt heavy, like I was sinking into the grayness of the day. Across the room, Jasper looked up from his sketch pad, his brow furrowed slightly, a quiet concern flashing across his face. "Want to take a look?" he asked. "Please," I said without thinking. We weren't strangers to each other. We'd been living together for almost a year. What started out as two broke college grads, splitting rent slowly became something more familiar. Casual coffee chats turned into late-night movies, shared takeout, and secrets whispered in the dark. Still, we'd never cross a line. But this felt different. Jasper set his sketchpad aside and walked over, barefoot in sweatpants and a plain black tee. He always had this calmness to him. Like a storm could rage outside, and he'd still be the safest thing in the room. He sat down beside me, close enough to feel but not touch. "Where's it hurting?" he asked, his voice soft. "Lower back, right side." I pointed, my hand already trembling a little. "All right," he murmured, and then his hands touched my back, firm, steady, and warm. I closed my eyes. The rain outside became a soft soundtrack as his fingers began to work into the tight muscles. It wasn't just the way he touched me. It was how he made it feel intentional. Safe. Present. He wasn't rushing. His touch wasn't clinical, like a doctor or a trainer. It was almost reverent, like he knew how broken I felt and was trying to piece me back together, one press at a time. My breath began to match his, a slow inhale and exhale. My heart pounded, not from pain, but from something else I didn't want to name. Every now and then, his thumb would drift dangerously close to the base of my spine. I told myself it was part of the massage. I told myself to stop overthinking. But my chest tightened, my thoughts got loud, and the ache wasn't just physical anymore. "You've been quiet lately," he said after a while, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Just tired." I answered, eyes still shut. "Mike has been distant." There was a pause, a long one. "He hasn't visited in a while," Jasper said. "Nope." He kept working, his hands never faltering. "You deserve better," he said quietly. I opened my eyes then, and for some reason, those words hit me harder than they should have. It wasn't the first time someone told me I deserved more, but it was the first time I actually wanted to believe it. "Jasper," I whispered. He leaned in just slightly, his breath brushing against the back of my neck. "Yeah." I should have laughed it off. I should have made a joke, pulled away, set the boundary we never really talked about. Instead, I whispered, "That feels really good." His hand stopped. For a moment, everything stilled. The room, the rain, even the air seemed to pause. Then his thumb moved again, slower now, deliberate, less about helping me feel better and more about something else entirely. He didn't say a word, but his silence felt louder than any conversation I'd had with Micah in weeks. My phone buzzed from the kitchen counter. "Micah." Jasper didn't look at it. He didn't have to. "Should I stop?" he asked gently. I should have said yes, but I didn't. "No, just a little longer," I said. He stayed. His touch softened, not therapeutic anymore, just comforting. His fingers traced along my back like he was drawing invisible lines, shapes only he could see. We weren't doing anything, really, but it felt like everything. I forgot what it's like, I mumbled, to feel someone's hands without expecting them to be gone afterward. Jasper exhaled. His hand moved up my spine, slowly like a side turned into touch. "You're not invisible," he said. "Not to me." My throat tightened. My eyes burned. "I think I'm doing something wrong," I admitted. "No," he said firmly. "You're just remembering what it's like to be touched for the right reasons." I wanted to cry then, not from sadness, but from the strange comfort in his words. There was a moment, clear and heavy, where we both saw the line between us. Neither of us crossed it, but we stood on the edge, closer than we'd ever been. I sat up slowly. My muscles ached, but that wasn't what made my heart race. He backed away, respectful, his hands now resting between his knees, eyes lowered like he was afraid to meet mine. I should get some sleep, I said. Okay. As I walked past him, my shoulder brushed his. We both paused, the contact electric and brief. Still, neither of us said anything. I closed my bedroom door behind me and leaned against it, my chest rising and falling like I'd just run a mile. My hands were shaking. I wasn't sure if it was guilt or anticipation. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. My phone lit up again. Micah. Sorry I didn't call. Got busy. You okay? I stared at it and didn't reply. My back still ached, but it wasn't the kind of pain that kept you up. It was something else entirely. A different kind of tension lingered, one that pulsed just beneath the surface, like a second heartbeat. Jasper's touch was gone, but the warmth of it stayed with me. It haunted my skin. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. That gentleness when he looked at me like I wasn't just another person taking up space. Like I mattered, and for the first time in a long time, I wanted to believe that was true. I kept replaying everything from the night before. The way his fingers had moved, the way his breath had hit the back of my neck, the way my body had responded. Somewhere in all of that, a line had blurred. I wasn't sure if it happened when his hands paused too long or when I didn't pull away. By the time sunlight began creeping through the blinds, I gave up pretending I was asleep. The apartment was quiet except for the soft clinking of mugs and the faint hum of the kettle. Jasper was in the kitchen making coffee, just like any other morning, like nothing had happened. I walked in slowly, rubbing the back of my neck. He glanced over and gave me a small nod. Morning, he said. Hey. Neither of us brought it up. Not the massage, not the moment, not the way I had practically melted under his hands. We stood on opposite sides of the kitchen counter, each clutching our coffee like it might shield us from what had passed between us. We sipped in silence, two people pretending to be normal when normal had already slipped away. Then my phone buzzed. It was Micah. Morning, babe. Sorry again about last night. Things are crazy here. I miss you. I stared at the message longer than I should have. 3 months ago, that would have sent butterflies through my chest. But now, it felt late, like laughter that arrives after the joke's already gone stale. You okay? Jasper asked gently. Just Micah, I muttered. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, then didn't. Instead, he poured himself another cup of coffee. His silence wasn't easy anymore. It was thick, heavy. I'm going for a walk, I said, grabbing my hoodie. Sure, he replied, barely meeting my eyes. But I didn't go far. I just stood outside our building, letting the cold morning air hit me. I needed to feel something real, something that wasn't his hands or my own guilt. By the time I came back upstairs, the apartment was quiet again. Jasper's door was shut. For the rest of the day, we avoided each other. I buried myself in freelance edits, trying to make sense of spreadsheets and sentences. He disappeared into his sketch pad, lost in lines and shading. We passed each other like ghosts, polite, quiet, careful. But polite didn't erase what happened. That night, I stood in the hallway for a long time, just staring at his door. I told myself I just needed to clear the air. That's all. No pressure. Just a conversation. I knocked. The door opened slowly. Jasper stood there, eyes heavy with sleep or maybe something else. His hair was messy, like he'd been running his fingers through it for hours. Hey, I said quietly. Can I come in? He stepped aside without a word. His room was dim, lit only by the warm glow of a small lamp. Sketches were scattered across his desk, the scent of charcoal and coffee still hanging in the air. I stood awkwardly near the door, not sure where to start. I'm sorry, I said, though I didn't even know what I was apologizing for. For what? He asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. For feeling something? For wanting more? My voice caught. You don't have to say anything. He looked down at the floor. It was late. You were tired. Do you think that's all it was? I asked. He looked up slowly, meeting my gaze with something unreadable. Do you want it to be? I hesitated. Micah and we've been off for a while now. But I didn't think I'd ever cross a line. You didn't cross it alone, Jasper said softly. I should have stopped. I knew you were vulnerable. I wasn't weak. I snapped too quickly, too harshly. His eyes widened. I didn't say you were. Silence fell between us again. He looked at his hands. I looked at the floor. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. He exhaled, his shoulders relaxing just a little. Neither have I. I looked up. Do you regret it? He swallowed hard. Only because you might. That shattered something in me. I stood up and walked toward him. He stood too. We were close now, closer than we should have been. I don't know what I'm doing, I whispered. His voice was steady. Then let me help you figure out. He reached out slowly, his fingers brushing mine, not grabbing, not assuming, just offering. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I didn't pull away. My back still tingled, but not because of pain. It was a memory of Jasper's hands. The warmth, the gentleness, the way he didn't rush, like he was trying to soothe something deeper than sore muscles. His touch lingered on my skin like a second heartbeat. I hadn't slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, not the kiss, not the heat, but the way he looked at me like I mattered, like he really saw me. I kept asking myself, when did it shift? Was it when his hand paused just a little too long on my spine? Or when I leaned into his touch instead of pulling away? Maybe it was earlier, months ago, in the quiet moments we shared without ever admitting how much they meant. Morning light sliced through the blinds in soft golden beams, making the bedroom feel like it existed outside of time. I could hear the kettle whistling from the kitchen. Jasper already awake, already pretending nothing had happened. The clinking of mugs, the soft pad of his bare feet across the floor. It was all familiar, but now it felt fragile, like the glass had cracked, and we were both pretending it hadn't. I wrapped the sheet around myself, stood, and pulled on a hoodie. When I walked into the kitchen, Jasper looked up from the counter, holding 2 mugs of coffee. His face didn't change. Morning, he said casually like he always did. Hey, I replied, forcing a smile. We didn't mention the night before. Not the kiss. Not the way I'd fallen asleep, curled into him. We just stood at opposite ends of the kitchen, sipping coffee like strangers practicing small talk. Familiarity rehearsed. But the silence between us wasn't comforting like it used to be. It was loaded now, heavy with things we didn't dare say. My phone buzzed on the counter beside me. I already knew who it was. Micah. Morning, babe. Sorry again about last night. Things are crazy here. I miss you. 3 months ago, a text like that would have made my heart race. Now it just felt late, like someone laughing after the joke had already passed. You okay? Jasper asked, watching me closely. Just Micah, I said. His lips parted like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. Instead, he topped off his coffee and took a slow sip. His silence now wasn't comforting. It was distance. I'm going to take a walk, I said quickly, grabbing my hoodie. Sure, but I didn't walk far. I just stood outside our building for half an hour, letting the cold morning air bite at my cheeks. I needed to feel something that wasn't guilt or confusion. I needed clarity. When I came back inside, the apartment was quiet. Jasper's bedroom door was closed. I didn't knock. I just walked past it and buried myself in edits for a freelance project. We stayed like that all day, avoiding each other like ghosts drifting through the same haunted house. We passed in the hallway. We didn't speak. Not really. And every moment of silence screamed with the memory of his hands on my skin, my name in his whisper, the weight of something unspoken that neither of us could carry aloud. That night, I stood outside his bedroom door, hesitating. Tell him the truth, I thought. I knocked. The door creaked open. Jasper stood there, hair a mess like he'd been running his hands through it all day. His eyes were tired, guarded. Still, he stepped aside. Hey, I said, can I come in? He nodded. His room smelled like charcoal and coffee, like his sketches had absorbed both. There were drawings scattered across his desk, soft shadows playing on the walls. I'm sorry. I began, though I wasn't sure what I was apologizing for. For enjoying it? I added, for wanting more? He sat on the edge of his bed, elbows resting on his knees. "You don't have to explain," he said gently. "It was late. You were tired. Is that all it was?" I asked, my voice low. He looked up slowly. "Do you want it to be?" I hesitated. Micah and we've been off for a while. But I didn't think I'd actually cross a line. "You didn't do it alone," Jasper said. I should have stopped. I knew you were vulnerable. I wasn't weak. I said quickly, too defensively. His eyes softened. "I didn't say you were." We both fell silent. I stared at the floor. He stared at his hands like they still remembered how I felt. "I can't stop thinking about it," I finally admitted. He exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath since last night. "Neither can I." I looked up at him. "Do you regret it?" His jaw tightened. "Only because you might." That broke something in me, something that had been barely holding together. I stood, took a step toward him, and he stood too, slow, unsure, now just inches away. "I don't know what I'm doing," I whispered. "Then let me help you figure out," he said softly, and he gave me space. He didn't rush in. He waited, like he always did, for me to choose. And I did. I leaned forward, his fingers gently cupping my jaw. My eyes closed. Then we kissed. No hesitation. No second-guessing. Just need. Quiet, aching, honest. My hands clutched his shirt, holding like I'd been drowning for months, and he was finally air. We undressed slowly, like neither of us wanted to break the moment. He laid me back, not to claim something, but to be present with it. With me, it wasn't about lust. It was about presence. The kind Micah hadn't shown me in a long time. Jasper held me like I was something to protect, not possess. After, we lay tangled in silence, his heartbeat thudding gently against my back. His fingers brushed my hair from my face, and I felt dizzy, not from the heat, but from being seen, from being touched without expectation. "This can't happen again," I whispered. He nodded against my shoulder, but neither of us moved. Neither of us meant it. The morning light crept back in, painting soft gold across Jasper's bare shoulder. His hand was still resting lightly on my hip, like even in sleep he couldn't let go. I lay there quietly, afraid to move, afraid to break whatever piece had fallen between us. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. "Micah, hey babe, I was thinking maybe I fly in next weekend. It's been too long. I miss you like crazy." I stared at the message. I didn't know how to answer. I wasn't sure I had the right to. Behind me, Jasper stirred. His hand left my waist, retreating slowly like he already knew. I turned to face him. He was awake now, eyes searching mine. "Sorry," I whispered, holding up the phone. He didn't say anything, just nodded. "Micah," I said softly. He sat up, pulled a t-shirt over his head. "It was a mistake," he said, voice tight. "Was it?" I asked. "You're with him, Eli." "Am I?" My voice cracked, because it hasn't felt like that for a while. He looked at me, finally. "Then why do you still answer when he calls?" "I don't know," I admitted. Maybe I was afraid of who I'd be without him. Or maybe I already let someone else in. Jasper stood. My chest tightened. "I'm not going to ask you to choose," he said. "That's not fair." "I already did," I replied quietly. He paused. "What do you mean?" I grabbed my phone, opened the voice recorder, and hit record. "Hey, Micah, I've been thinking a lot about us. About distance, not just the physical kind. I think we've been pretending we're still the same people. But I'm not, and I don't think you are either. I'm sorry. I think this is goodbye." I stopped the recording and looked at Jasper. "You don't have to say anything." He didn't. Instead, he walked over and sat beside me. Not touching, just sitting, quiet, shoulder to shoulder. Later that day, I opened my laptop to work. Jasper brought me tea without asking. We didn't talk about last night or Micah or what came next. We just were. But everything had changed. Not with a kiss. Not even with goodbye. But with finally knowing what I'd been holding on to and what I was finally ready to let go. The air felt heavier that evening. Not sad, just grounded, like everything that had been floating, all the questions, all the confusion, had finally begun to settle. We sat on the tiny balcony, legs brushing every now and then, not on purpose, but not pulling away either. The sky folded itself into deep orange and bruised purples, the sun dipping behind rooftops like it was shy. I rested my arms on a railing, and beside me, Jasper exhaled slowly, the kind of breath that meant something had shifted inside. He spoke without looking at me. "Do you think he'll respond?" His voice was soft, careful, like he didn't want to press, but needed to ask. "Maybe," I said. "And if he does?" I paused, letting the wind fill the space between words. "I don't know, but I won't lie to him. Not anymore." Jasper nodded, still staring out at the skyline. "You're brave, you know." I let out a dry laugh. "I don't feel brave. You told the truth. That's more than most do." Silence wrapped around us again, but it wasn't the tense kind. It was quiet, thoughtful, the kind of silence that says everything doesn't need to be said out loud to be understood. Birds flew across the darkening sky, their wings slicing the orange like paintbrush strokes. I followed them with my eyes, then turned to Jasper. "Do you ever wonder," I asked, "if this, us, is just a fallout of something else? Like, maybe we only found each other because I was already falling apart." He finally looked at me, his eyes steady and searching. "Do you?" I thought about it for a second, really thought. "No," I said. "I think this started a long time ago. I just didn't know how to name it." Jasper reached out and took my hand, slow and careful like always, like asking without words. He didn't lace our fingers together. He just held it, gently, resting in his lap. "I don't want to be someone's rebound," he said, "but I'll be here if you want something real." I looked down at our hands, his thumb barely brushing mine, like a question he was too kind to say out loud. I squeezed his hand back, steady. "That's the only thing I want." For the first time in months, maybe longer, I felt still, like I wasn't chasing something or trying to hold it all together with shaking hands. I didn't need to prove anything. Not to Micah, not to Jasper, not even to myself. Night fell slowly, like it was in a hurry. The city lights blinked on in the distance, each one a tiny heartbeat. Somewhere below, traffic hummed and people moved through their lives, unaware that two souls were sitting on a cramped balcony, discovering something real between them. We didn't kiss again. We didn't rush into promises or label what we were becoming. We just sat there, shoulder to shoulder, with the quiet comfort of two people who had crossed a line and found something honest waiting on the other side. And in that moment, I realized something important. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't choosing love or even walking away. It's telling the truth to someone else, to yourself, and staying in the stillness long enough to hear what comes next. We didn't speak for a while. We didn't have to. The truth was already between us, alive, breathing, enough